Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the peak-to-peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
The song that you are currently listening to is called High Lonesome, and it's performed here by Peter Rowan and the Sam Grisman Project in the Caverns. They joined forces on June 30th, 2024 in the Caverns in Pelham, Tennessee to celebrate 50 years of the band Old and in the Way. If you're interested in hearing original material from the Sam Grisman Project, then be sure to check out their debut release, Temple Cabin Sessions Volume 1, wherever you get your music. And if you want to see them perform songs like this live, then be sure to head to the Caribou Room to see the Sam Grisman Project performing with opening act Benny Burrell Galloway. More details coming up later in the podcast. Hello there, everybody. My name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome to this week's Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. I've got a very exciting interview for you guys today, but before we transition into the interview portion of the episode, if you haven't subscribed to the Mountaineer yet, and you're looking for something new to subscribe to, then head to the mtnear.com and click on the subscribe button in the top right corner of our homepage. From there, you'll get full access to our digital archives as well as to scanned copies of our physical newspaper. You can even choose to send a physical subscription to your mailbox or the mailbox of someone that you love. If you're interested in getting advertising into the newspaper or the podcast, then please go to the mtnear.com/advertise to learn what options are available. Oh, and before we transition into the episode, I have one more community announcement for you all. Nederland Middle Senior High School Theater is about to perform Hadestown Teen Edition, written by Aeneas Mitchell. They open on Friday, April 4th at 7 p.m. and have performances on Saturday, April 5th at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m., on Thursday, April 10th at 7 p.m., on Friday, April 11th at 7 p.m., and Saturday, April 12th at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. at the Nederland Middle Senior High School Auditorium. Tickets are $10 for adults and $5 for students and seniors. Email nederlandmshs2@gmail.com to reserve tickets now. This is Elizabeth Evans' final show before she retires from her 40-year career at Nederland Middle Senior High. All right, now for this week's regularly scheduled Music of the Mountains. Our guest this week, do you mind introducing yourself real quick?
Yeah, my name's Sam Grisman. I'm a bass player from Mill Valley, California, and I lead a band called Sam Grisman Project.
And the Sam Grisman Project is coming to the Caribou Room in Nederland to perform very soon.
Yeah, man, I can't wait. I love Ned, and I love that whole part of Colorado. I love Colorado in general, so I'm really looking forward to spending some early springtime there.
So you've got a very storied musical history as an individual, but before we get into that, I'm curious, how did the Sam Grisman Project, as it is today, start?
Well, it's been a long time in the making, I suppose, because I just have so many legions of incredibly talented musician friends, and we've been playing music together in all different kinds of capacities. But Sam Grisman Project, as it is today, has really just existed since the year 2023. We played our first show, I suppose, the summer of 2022, but we didn't yet have a band name or really a solidified concept. But it's basically just to honor the music that I grew up playing and grew up learning from my dad and his talented friends, who are some of the great practitioners of American acoustic music. And I'm just the luckiest kid to have gotten to grow up in that kind of rich, diverse musical environment, growing up around Doc Watson and John Hartford and Jerry Garcia and Martin Taylor and Hal Blaine and Andy Statman and guys like that is just an incredible kind of wealth that's hard to articulate. But I'm trying to pay that forward and share some of my experience and some of my community with the larger community, And I've got a lot of dear friends who are really passionate about this same material, and so it's sort of a dealer's choice type of situation. We just play a whole bunch of music that we love, and some original music, and some songs that we learned from my dad and Jerry, and some songs that we learned from my dad and Dawg, or just great songs that everybody knows and loves,
Of course, Sam Grisman's father is David Grisman, a mandolinist who was inducted into the International Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame in 2023. As Sam just talked about, David has played with dozens of musicians over the course of his career. When he was just 17 years old, he was invited on stage to perform with Doc Watson. He has since played in the Even Dozen Jug Band with Maria Muldaur and John Sebastian, in Earth Opera with Peter Rowan, in the Kentuckians led by Red Allen, in Old and in the Way with Peter Rowan and Bessar Clements, in the David Grisman Quintet with Darol Anger, Joe Carroll, Todd Phillips, and Tony Rice, Mike Marshall, Mark O'Connor, Rob Wasserman, and Stephanie Grappelli also through that quintet, fellow bluegrass musician Andy Statman, and of course, frequent duo collaborator, Grateful Dead member Jerry Garcia, who gave Grisman the nickname Dawg, a nickname that now also refers to the kind of music that David has honed over the course of his career. Dawg music. David and Jerry's friendship was documented in the 2001 documentary Grateful Dawg, directed by none other than David's daughter and Sam's sister, Jillian. Sam's brother, Monroe, named after Bill Monroe, has also pursued a career in the arts, currently playing in the Tom Petty tribute band, Petty Theft. So I'm sure with constant exposure to so many incredible musicians over the course of your life, music has always been a part of your life, Sam.
Yeah, I have a really unique perspective because it was just kind of always ever present, and I kind of grew up assuming that everyone played music, and I even kind of remember being a little kid feeling like somebody's instrument was a part of their personality, and maybe sort of expecting that everybody was maybe born with some sort of proclivity towards one instrument. Obviously, this isn't really the case, People have to develop a passion and decide to cultivate a talent on any instrument, but just growing up in my house, it seemed like everyone I knew played something. And yeah, it was just always around me, and it's always just brought so much positivity and love and joy into my life. And it seems like my duty to play music for people.
When did you truly start pursuing writing and performing music for the first time?
Well, my dad always encouraged learning other people's music and practicing composing. He's a composer. And so I started writing little fiddle tunes and little instrumental music when I was probably in middle school. But, those are large shoes to fill. Like, my father's first compositions are some of my favorite Dawg tunes, actually. His first ever song that he ever wrote is called Cedar Hill, and it's a fairly complicated melody with some pretty compelling harmony in there. So, as a little kid, it was a little daunting knowing that anything that I came up with would sort of, in my mind, be compared to his first compositions. So I kind of had to get over that at an early age. And luckily, I've always been surrounded by friends who are great songwriters and instrumentalists. And so I'd say that my core group of sort of new acoustic musician friends, we all kind of started fooling around with composition at a similar age when we were in late middle school, sort of early high school, started to get more serious about it.
By the way, Cedar Hill has been released in various capacities since 1971, including being performed by Olden in the Way in 1973. In regards to groups that you formed under your own name or with other people, is the Sam Grisman project really the one that's taken off for you? Were there others that you developed before the Sam Grisman project?
Well, I've always been a bass player. I've been playing in bands since I was a teenager. Played for years in various bands with my father. In the David Grisman Bluegrass experience, started playing with him in that capacity when I was maybe like 11 or 12. And then, when I was 18, I started playing as a sideman with as many folks as I could play with. I for years worked with the great Brian Sutton, who's one of the world's great flat pickers, and for about 4 or 5 years worked for a tremendous country singer named Leanne Womack, who's one of the great singers in Nashville. But throughout the years, I've had my own projects, never really anything explicitly with my name on it. I suppose the closest I came was some of those core new acoustic buddies who I grew up playing with. We had a band that we kind of jokingly called the Brotet, and that's with myself and Dominic Leslie and Alex Hargraves and Nat Smith. And we played some gigs as the Brotet. Or maybe we just used our last names a couple of times. But either way, that was just a platform for us to play music that we'd written together and to spend time together. Now, fortunately, Sam Grisman Project is kind of turning into a forum where a similar cast of characters can get together and, we can make a set list together and work on all this music that we love playing together and throw in really whatever we want. Maybe some of this old stuff that we wrote together. Who knows?
Oh, and by the way, Grisman, Leslie, Hargreaves, and Smith released an EP called The Brotet, which you can find on Bandcamp. But not only have you grown up around such incredible musicians, Sam, you've performed with many of them yourself over the course of your life and career. Has it been a surreal experience for you processing all of the different experiences you've had with all of these different musicians? What has balancing that and processing that been like for you over your entire life?
I'm just incredibly fortunate. I'm constantly processing all of my experiences and just really lucky. I'm grateful to have gotten to hear some of the world's great acoustic music firsthand and experience some of the personalities that made that music. These people were all really beautiful folks. Every last one of them that my dad brought into the house, they all had something beyond music to offer as well. I just remember like the sound of John Hartford's laugh and the richness of his voice, and remember little things like that about Jerry and Tony Rice and Doc Watson and all these guys, And it's incredible because the music that they all made and some of the music they made together is some of my favorite music ever. And it's music that I listen to daily and it informs my experience as I travel through the world. And it's amazing to have a personal connection to so much of this music.
And what's kept you coming back to playing all of these different Dawg tunes? What keeps you coming back to this project and these songs?
Well, there's just so many great songs out there, and different players come into the fold and bring their passions and their perspectives, and it ends up opening these little avenues for us to play music that we maybe forgot that we knew or haven't played in a long time, and just kind of reaching all this love for all these great songs. And realistically, we all only know about a fingernail's worth of the total available musical knowledge and the total available repertoire. And music is just an amazing, endless well of just goodness. So we'll keep exploring and finding new songs. Some of those songs haven't been written yet. Some of those songs will be written by some of the members of this collective and some of our friends. And there's just an endless amount of great recorded music that has made us all the musicians who we are today. So we'll keep drawing on that. And I think we've played well over 550 different tunes in this band over its first 3 years. And, I would anticipate cracking 1,000 tunes in the next couple of years just because how many great songs there are and how much passion everybody has to learn them all.
And over the course of your career in general, have you preferred playing as a solo act? Have you preferred playing in groups like the Sam Grisman Project? Are there pros and cons to both?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bass player, so I prefer to play in a good band, you know. I like to be part of the rhythm section. That's not to say I don't enjoy playing the melody and taking solos, but all my favorite bass players have been good supportive musicians, and some of those bass players have also been great band leaders, like Oscar Pettiford. Jack Bruce kind of led Cream in a lot of ways, did all the singing. That was one of my favorite bands growing up. I remember having my mind blown to find out that the bass player was doing all the singing, you know, and Paul McCartney was my first favorite Beatle. Now my favorite Beatle has been George Harrison for maybe the last 15 years, but Paul is undeniably one of the GOATs. And I just saw him a couple of years ago in a huge stadium, and he was just playing the absolute fire out of the bass and singing as good as ever. And to see that kind of thing is just always been real inspiring, and doesn't necessarily have to be the featured instrument to play a crucial role in a band. And I've always enjoyed supportive, inventive bass playing. So to answer your question, you know, I like playing in at least a duo. I like backing people up, making music with friends.
And what do you love so much about being able to perform live in general? What keeps you coming back to the stage?
Well, I mean, if we were just going to play for ourselves for the rest of ever, it just would seem a little selfish. And so I like sharing music with the community and connecting with people in that way. And certainly not for the applause or the money. I just like playing music, and I'll do it for myself and for my friends and for my family, but I'd just as happily do it for a room full of people who are there to hear it.
And is there anything that you hope people will take away from your performances when they come to see you?
I hope people learn about some sliver of what could possibly be some of their favorite music that they haven't necessarily been exposed to. I enjoy turning people on to the music that I love and the roots of the music that I love, and I try to bring people together and curate a positive environment and a positive feeling for everybody, a positive experience. So, you know, I just want everybody to be happy and to spend some time together focused on what's connecting us in that moment, which is hopefully some good music.
You talked earlier about seeing Paul McCartney live on stage and still being so captivated by his performance and his energy on stage. It sounds to me like you have a very similar respect towards your father, David. While he doesn't perform as much anymore, he still jumps on stage every now and again. In fact, he just celebrated his 80th birthday performing with you and a ton of other people.
Yeah, I'm talking to you on Friday the 21st, and my dad's 80th is on Sunday in 2 days here on the 23rd. And yeah, I've just had a lot of time to reflect on what he means to me and my community and all my friends and heroes. And it's a pretty amazing privilege and responsibility to get to put on this 80th birthday show with him and for him, which is coming up in Seattle on the 25th, just a couple of days after his birthday. And yeah, it's been really one of the great joys of my life to get to help put this together and work on all this great music, all this great old Dawg music throughout his career, really. We're focusing on some of the earlier stuff in the first set of the evening, and he's focusing on some of the newer stuff with some of his old colleagues in the second set, and I think it's going to be a really special show. It's like a family reunion, a literal one for my family, and also a musical one. We bring in a lot of generations of Dawg disciples and just people who have been really important in my dad's musical path. And yeah, it's been a humbling experience. And the show is almost sold out, and I'm hoping it gets there by the day of the show, and I think it will. And I just want to give my dad a positive experience, you know, where he can feel all of this love flowing over him, because he certainly deserves it.
Michael Rittmulder wrote about the concert for the Seattle Times and mentioned all of the incredible guests that also took the stage with David and Sam. As Sam just mentioned, the first set of the night focused on older compositions from David, led by Sam, Alex Hargreaves, and Ronnie McCoury, the son of Del McCoury. The second set, led by David, focused more on David's newer compositions. This set featured a rotating ensemble including Danny Barnes and Sam Bush. And throughout the entire event, another very special guest took the stage with Sam and David, Billy Strings. David is quoted in that article as saying how amazing of an event he found it, because he hadn't been on a big stage like the Moore Theater for a long time. In general, Sam, I think it's incredible that you've been able to collaborate with so many incredible musicians who you call your friends and who are even part of your family. And clearly, the Sam Grisman project has a lot more steam. So even though I've pretty much asked every big question I have on my end, I do want to ask if there's anything else involving the Sam Grisman project that you want to talk about.
Yeah, well, we recorded a record in early January, and we're working on putting that out. We're hoping to have it out this summer. And we're playing with our hero, Peter Rowan, a bunch coming up, which is always a total treat, an honor, and a privilege. He's one of my favorite songwriters and somebody who I've known my entire life, and one of my dad's old partners in crime, musically speaking. And yeah, I just always learn a lot being around Peter. And, it just feels like going back home for Thanksgiving or something like that. So we've got a bunch of stuff coming up together, including playing at Rocky Grass together, which is my favorite festival on the planet. So we get to come back to Colorado, to Lyons for that in late July. And then only a couple weeks later, I'm playing a special show in Evergreen, Colorado with some of my favorite people who all hail from the same family, the Bad Leslies. That's Dominic and Gina and Sam Leslie and Phoebe Hunt. Dominic's lovely wife is an incredible singer and songwriter. And yeah, we were going to play a festival up in Evergreen together, so that'll be a treat. I've been literally visiting the Leslies since, I was a freshman in high school. I would go out there and spend a week or so in the summer and just play a bunch of tunes and go to the Rocky Grass Academy and wait out in the line, so we could go put the tarps down when the festival opened. And it's just special to get to go back there, and I'm going to teach the academy this year. I think Dominic and Phoebe and maybe Sam are also all teaching there. And so is my dear friend Todd Livingston, who happens to be driving the van right now down the road towards Memphis. So it's just a privilege to get to spend all this time with some of my favorite people just playing music,
Thank you so much, Sam, for coming on board and joining us for the Mountaineer podcast. We really appreciate you taking your time to promote this incredibly special show. You can see the Sam Grisman Project performing at the Caribou Room, located at 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Nederland on Saturday, April 12th, 2025. The show will also feature a very special opening act, Benny Burl Galloway. I just interviewed Burl for a recent episode of Music of the Mountains, so be sure to check out that episode if you want to learn more about Burl. Doors for the show open and dinner starts at 7 p.m., and the show itself starts at 8 p.m. If you want to reserve tickets ahead of time, then be sure to head to thecaribouroom.com to purchase them now. To learn more about the Sam Grisman Project, visit their website at samgrismanproject.net. And finally, if you're interested in hearing some of their original music, you can find their debut release, Temple Cabin Sessions Volume 1, wherever you get your music. And now, for this week's music mentions. Head to Busey Brews, located at 70 East 1st Street in Nederland on Friday, April 4th, starting at 4 p.m. for the Fridays on Deck series featuring the Piney Tops. Head to the Coal Creek Canyon Improvement Association, located at 31528 Highway 72 in Coal Creek on Friday, April 4th, starting at 7 p.m. for an open mic night. If you're interested in signing up for the open mic night, then be sure to head to coalcreekcanyon.org to sign up for your slot now. Head to Howlin' Wind Brewing and Blending, located at 51A Main Street in Rawlinsville on Saturday, April 5th, starting at 5 p.m. to see Jeremy Money and his band performing live. Head to the Jamestown Mercantile, located at 108 Main Street in Jamestown on Wednesday, April 2nd, starting at 5 p.m. for an open mic night. On Thursday, April 3rd, starting at 7 p.m. to see Lucy Moore and the Night Children performing live. And on Friday, April 4th, starting at 7 p.m. to see Boulder Grass performing live. Head to Knotted Root Brewing, located at 250 North Caribou Street in Nederland for their regularly scheduled music events. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. they host open mic nights. Every Friday at 7:30 p.m. they host DJ nights. Every second Friday of the month at 7:30 p.m. they host reggae DJ nights, and every Sunday at 5 p.m., they host Jazz Sundays. Head to the Caribou Room, located at 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Nederland on Saturday, April 5th, to see Squeaky Feet performing with Swerve. Doors open and dinner starts at 7 p.m., and the show starts at 8 p.m. If you want to get your tickets ahead of time, head to thecaribouroom.com now. And finally, Pick your preference. If you want to head to Gilpin County, then be sure to head to the Very Nice Brewing Company location at 180 Jankowski Drive in Blackhawk on Friday, April 4th, starting at 6 p.m. for the first Friday open mic night, and on Saturday, April 5th, starting at 5 p.m. to see Eric Stone performing live. If you're interested in heading to Netherland, then head over to the Very Nice Brewing Company location at 20 East Lakeview Drive, number 112 in the Caribou Village Shopping Center on Friday, April 4th, starting at 6 p.m. to see Riverspell performing live, and on Saturday, April 5th, starting at 5 p.m. to see Montana Sand performing live. Did we miss you or any of your performances? Do you want to submit your music listing in the Peak to Peak area? Do you have updates to your business or to any of your performances? Please call 303-810-5409 or email info@themountaineer.com or media@themountaineer.com to be included in the next print edition or the next podcast of The Mountaineer. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. I'll be back very soon with another exciting episode. In the meantime, if you want to share this episode or others around with whoever you see fit, then be sure to scroll near to the bottom of our homepage at the mtnear.com or head to our podcast's main hub at the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com for a full archive of all of our episodes. If you want to be featured on the podcast in any way, shape, or form, then email me at media@themountaineer.com and we'll get something sorted for you. And finally, if you want to send us individualized feedback for the podcast as a whole or specific episodes, then head to an individual episode description of the podcast and send us a text today. We'd love to hear from you. I'll see you guys very soon with another episode of the Mountaineer Podcast. Have a great rest of your day! The song that you are currently listening to is called Old and in the Way, and it's performed here by Peter Rowan and the Sam Grisman Project in the Caverns in Pelham, Tennessee, in a special concert event celebrating 50 years of the band Old and in the Way. If you're interested in seeing the Sam Grisman Project perform songs like this live, then be sure to head to their show with opening act Benny Burrell Galloway on Saturday, April 12th, 2025 at the Caribou Room, located at 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Netherland. Doors open and dinner starts at 7 p.m. and the show starts at 8 p.m. To get your tickets ahead of time, be sure to head to thecaribouroom.com. To learn more about the Sam Grisman Project, be sure to head to their website at samgrismanproject.net. And if you're interested in hearing original material from the group, you can listen to their debut release, Temple Cabin Sessions Volume 1, wherever you get your music.
Walks alone, like an old dog on a string, feeling old and in the way. Old and in the way, that's what I heard him say. They used to hear the words he said, but that was yesterday. Gold will turn to gray, and you can fade away. They'll never care about you, 'cause you're old and in the way.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.